My name's Elizabeth Killinger. I'm an extension educator out of the Hall County Extension Office, and I go around during the summertime and I judge county fairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the major vegetable crops that we have and some of the problems or issues that we see while judging county fairs. Now, to start off, the book that you're going to want to reference is going to be Selecting and Preparing Fruits, Vegetables, and Herbs for County Fair. What this does is it goes through the major crops that we have, and it tells you desirable traits, undesirable traits, how many you're going to need for an exhibit, as well as how do you prepare it for fair. So this is going to be one you're going to want to reference. Also, you're going to want to reference the score sheet because it's going to walk you through what you need to look at in terms of a quality exhibit. So if we read the Selecting and Preparing Fruits and Vegetables for County Fair, one of the ones that we oftentimes have an issue with, or at least I do anyway, is zucchini. So if we read this book, it says zucchini should be 6 to 8 inches in length. Do any of us actually carry a ruler with us to county fair? Most of the time it's no. So what you need to do is figure out on your hand what measurements are. So for me, this from my thumb to my pinky is about 8 inches. So I know if my zucchini is within that, then I know that it's within the right size. So some other ones that you can use is going to be from the pointer finger down to here is about 3 inches. From the end of your thumb to the knuckle on your thumb is about 1 inch. And that gives you a general rule of thumb, approximately how big some of this produce is. So when we take a look, 6 to 8 inches in length. What we're looking for on the skin is we want it to be smooth. We're gonna try to avoid any with blemishes or disease issues or marks or insect issues. So when we go through our score sheet, the first one's gonna be uniformity. With squash and summer squash, what we're looking for is we're looking for 2. So we need to make sure that both of them are the same size, the same maturity, the same diameter, and they have the same appearance or the same shape to them. When we take a look at market quality, it really depends on what variety we're talking about. If we're talking about the green summer squash, the green zucchini, market quality for these is going to be 6 to 8 inches in length. If, however, we're talking about like the patapan squash, we're looking about 3 inches in diameter. And 3 inches in diameter is from the pointer finger to my knuckle. So with this guy, we're just a little bit too big. The seeds inside here are just going to be a little big. So market quality, if you have to interview judge with kids, I always ask them, would you eat it or would you feed it to your family or to your neighbor? If the market quality is good enough and you would, then we're going to mark that up toward the excellent or good area. We take a look at true to type, and every exhibit that comes in not only has to be put in the right class, but it also has to provide the cultivar name. So that way we know that it is indeed true to type. So if we take a look at our yellow crookneck, and we need to make sure this guy's true to type, we take our measurement, we go, this guy is way bigger than that 6 to 8 inches in length, but it is a yellow crookneck. Lastly, we take a look at fair prep. And again, fair prep is we need to make sure that the stem is attached. The reason for that is if the stem is not attached, it can rot, and it usually does rot by the end of fair very quickly. So the stem needs to be attached, it needs to be trimmed. On some of these smaller ones, to me, it doesn't matter if the blossom is still on or not. If they can carefully remove it, that's great. If not, if it comes in with a blossom end on it, I usually don't dock for it. So when it comes to zucchini, size is the number one thing, and the stem left on is the number one thing we look for. Some of the earlier county fairs might not have red tomatoes ready yet, so it's really up to you as a judge whether you're going to accept and have green tomatoes. If you're going to judge them as they come in, considering the time of year. I know I've judged some early July fairs, and if I get a plate of green tomatoes that are all uniform, we just roll with it because they're right on for the time of year that we see. So if we take a look at the Selecting and Preparing Vegetables for County Fair, we're going to take a look that there's different types of tomatoes. We've got salad tomatoes, we have Roma tomatoes, and we have slicing tomatoes. So the Roma tomatoes and the slicing tomatoes, you're going to need 5 to make a quality exhibit. If you're looking at the salad tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes, you're going to have 12. And so that's going to be key is if you have some of these salad tomatoes, you're going to need to have 12 on here. We need to make sure that they're uniform in size. We need to make sure that they're uniform in age. So sometimes older tomatoes, if you touch them, they feel really soft and squishy, while the younger tomatoes will still be solid yet. We also need to make sure that they're in overall good condition. So a squishy tomato with a bad spot in it is not something that's ideal, or is it going to last very long when it's placed out for the fair. One of the number one things that we see when judging county fairs with tomatoes is that the stem is left on. Now, if we read the selecting book, we need to make sure that we follow it because it says that the calyx needs to be removed. The reason the calyx needs to be removed is because it rolls around on the plate. Tomatoes are such soft skin that we can see that calyx and that stem poke through the other tomatoes, and that defeats the hard work that we did to pick all these tomatoes. So when we take a look, salad tomatoes, we need to have 12. Overall, they're uniform. So we'll take a look at our score sheet. Uniformity, are they all the same size? Are they all the same shape? And are they all the same age? Market quality, would we eat them or would we feed them to our family? True to type, so if we say that this variety is supposed to be red tomato, it needs to come in and be a red tomato. If the variety or cultivar comes in and it's a yellow tomato or this lovely little pinkish stripy guy, then it needs to be a pinkish stripy guy. And then true to type and fair prep, again, the number one thing with fair prep is to make sure that the calyx has been removed. Another common exhibit that we see come into county fairs is going to be green beans. So if we look at our selecting and preparing fruits, vegetables, and herb for county fair, we can again look and see what the desirable traits are, the undesirable traits, and we see that we need 12 to make a quality exhibit. So the first thing is to make sure that we have 12 green beans on the plate. We go down through the score sheet, we're looking for uniformity. So what we're looking for in uniformity is we're not only looking in length, we're also looking at in shape, and we're looking at uniformity in fill, because sometimes with green beans we have empty spots, we have spots that might not be all the way filled out, or sometimes we have them where the bean inside is just too large for that to happen. So with market quality, the main thing with market quality is we need to make sure that the beans are of edible quality that we would feed to our family or our friends. We need to make sure that they're filled out evenly and the seeds aren't too large inside. We take a look at true to type. So we need to make sure that the green beans are actually green, or they're purple, or they're red, or they're the right variety that we have. And then lastly is fair prep. So with green beans, we always want to make sure that the stem is left on, the cap is left on, and we would want to trim some of these stems down just a little bit so that way it looks overall quality and a nice exhibit. One thing we want to try to avoid, picking green beans that have green bean rust on them, or we want to try to look for green beans that might have some insect damage on them. So those are some things to look at. Are going to be, does it have the rust? Does it have insect damage? Are there 12 on a plate? And are they evenly filled out?